Hello, everyone. Welcome to Spiritual Politics right here on YouTube, man. I want to say hello to you. My name is, I go by no other than Mr. Noble Ampu himself, the cosmic guy in a sense. But today's conversation is one about welfare and the common saying that welfare had destroyed the black family. In fact, people say that the black woman actually chose to have welfare in replace of the black man. And that had always, I couldn't really like, for real, is that true? And I think we all heard it. Um, but to me, I always looked at it like, well, why would a man agree to that? You know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't telling me that a woman is like, yeah, I'd rather have these food stamps, or I'd rather have this monthly assistance in replace of you being in the house. I'm not buying it. It don't sound right to me, right? As if the black woman in whenever the welfare don't kick in until the 30s to 1935. So don't tell me from the 30s to the 60s, like black women are making this choice to get rid of the man because she's incentivized to get money for the kids. So she's going to get rid of the man. So today I aim, hear me closely. Today I aim to venerate that the black woman from that myth and look at some hardcore facts. Let's look at some data of the situation. Um, this conversation is inspired by, I've heard it before and I said I was going to get to it, but recently I had did a video on Willie D the rapper on why he don't like Candace Owens and whatnot. And then Willie D came back out and posted this welfare conversation in which we're going to listen to together in real time. In fact, let's go ahead and add that to the screen here.
There's a 1973 special report on how the government's welfare system destroyed black families. A video resurfaced on an IG clip that I checked out the other day. And fam, it made me hotter than I already am about how they played us with this welfare thing. In 1935, during the Great Depression, President Franklin D. Roosevelt established the first welfare program in the United States, with Congress passing the Social Security Act. The legislation provides benefits through a variety of welfare programs. Now, fam, this is how they got us. Like they always do. It just happened recently with the shot, right? They always come up with something slick like they're trying to help us. And we jump on it because we're oftentimes in a situation where we feel like we have no other choice. Desperate situations calls for desperate measures. And we definitely took some desperate measures to put food on the table during the Great Depression and immediately after.
Hold on. I want to pause it right there because the Social Security Act of 1935 is a response to the Great Depression. This is not specifically aimed for black people. It's actually, as I'm going to show, is specifically aimed for those who live in the rural America, meaning the outskirts, the farmlands type stuff. And whatever the rule is going to be is not going to apply to just black folks. It's going to apply to white folks, mainly white men as well. Okay. And so I want to put that on the record for a second.
Fam, boy, this was cold, fam. I'm talking about they were cold-blooded. I want you to remember something if you don't remember nothing. There has never been a time in American history where America was facing a crisis and black people were among the first to benefit. I'll say it again. There's never been a time in American history where America was facing a crisis and black people were among the first to benefit.
I know y'all wouldn't believe me, but slavery became a very serious issue in the 1800s, especially in the 1854 Bleeding Kansas era, where it's a civil war among citizens about slavery that is so pressing that now they had to create a whole new party called the Republican Party, who was the anti slave party, to specifically end this problem. It can no longer be ignored. This aspect of slavery, the domestic aspect of it, has to go. And we definitely benefited very quickly. So quickly that many people, many slaves joined the Union Army like Harriet Tubman did, got a gun and came back down south while the war was still going on and got the right to shoot at the Confederate slave master. So I would object with that point and whatnot, but let's continue.
That's not how it works. In fact, black folks seldom benefit. The man in the house rule was also written to make sure that aid to families with dependent children would go only to families headed by mothers. But the effect of the man in the house rule was to create for children an atmosphere of surveillance and investigation.
Okay, hold on. So the man in the house rule is the states that's saying, hey, in order for you to get this federal aid of assistance, there can't be a man in the house. If there's a man in the house, then he's an able working body. You don't need the taxpayers' money. And this is another thing. We keep thinking the government is giving you money. The government is saying, hey, you pay $200 a month in this. Well, we're about to reroute that 200 and put it over here. So the people, the taxpayer is paying for it. The government ain't paying nothing. It comes out of our pocket. So now the state government is saying, well, hold on. If there's a man in the house and he's an able body, he can go out there and get there. See, this timeline is the timeline of men get up off your butt and go make it happen. That's what men do. They get up and they go make it happen. Okay. So with that, all right. Um, they shouldn't give it to you if a man is in the house. And I'm going to show you that if a man was the parent and it was the other way around and there was an issue, then that's in the actual Social Security Act in of itself as well. All right. So let's continue.
Thus, the welfare system in its operation turns out to make life harder for children. This is what they did intentionally, fam. They knew exactly what they were doing. Those uncivilized mutts offered money to the family if the father would leave them and stay away, thereby taking away one of the.
See, it's almost it's not I'm gonna give you money if the father will leave and stay away. It's the other way around. If the father left and was gone and you need help, we're going to give you the money. See that they pitched the story like the government is saying, hey, get rid of your man and here you go. The government simply says if a parent is missing for certain reasons, he's absent, then yes, you can apply for some money and we will give you help. That's not the same thing as, hey, get rid of that man and here goes some money.
Parents the child needs. The legal system worked against the best type of home for the children, fam. Your politicians did this by way of just putting their signature on a piece of paper. I remember a caseworker coming to our house once. We were on welfare, but we used welfare as a supplement to my mother's income. My mother worked every day. She needed a little help, so she took it. But man, I remember having to make sure that the house was extra clean and we had to be on our best behavior because the caseworker was coming over. And they would peep around trying to make sure no man was in the house. Now, here's the thing, fam. They didn't go so hard on white families.
Hello? Hi, this is Marcus from the Sophos Threat Response Team. Hey.
Fair share of black women who gave Franklin D. Roosevelt and other public officials a vote of confidence in exchange for those welfare payments. They thought much higher of those public officials than they thought of the man who gave them children. What they did not understand was that the children that they were birthing were only pawns in the game. They needed them to birth those children, to feed those children, so that they could put them in the system, to work for them, to be good little workers. And I mean, in the free world and in the prison industrial complex. See, the goal is to give you just enough to get by, where you don't lose hope, and not too much to where you'll start beating your chest and thinking you can do for yourself. Having said that,
I'm sorry. I can't stomach this. I can't. I can't, because it's such a victim narrative. It is a victim mentality. They only give you enough. What are you talking about? The welfare, if we stand on subject here, the welfare is supposed to be just enough to cover what you need because somebody is absent. Why would they give it to you in extreme abundance? It's there because a parent is missing. You understand that? Do y'all get that? It's there because a parent is missing. So it's not supposed to be in extreme abundance. So to hold the idea, to paint the notion that they're just giving you a little bit where they should be giving you more, why should they be giving you more of anything? Again, it's there for you when you can't make ends meet. It ain't supposed to be there in surplus. I thought I hit play. Let's see.
it takes two to tango. Fellas, we didn't have to go for it. As men,
I agree.
we didn't have to
Thank you.
abandon our homes.
Thank
We
you.
didn't have to abandon our children,
Thank you.
our wives. We didn't have to do that.
Thank you.
We did it.
Thank you.
Some
See,
of us,
I'm going to end it right there. All right. I'm just going to end it right there. If we didn't have to do that, then there would never be, we wouldn't even have this issue. It won't be no welfare. It wouldn't be no issue. Okay. So I'm going to play a quick little clip from another video, and then we're going to validate this point that I'm about to play. All right. I actually should play it later, but I'll play it right now.
1990s, Black households saw a peak when it came to fatherless homes, as nearly 70% of Black families saw this as their reality.
That's so in the 1990s, I played
In the
again.
early to mid 1990s, Black households saw a peak when it came to fatherless homes, as nearly 70% of Black families saw this as their reality. In the early
Okay. All right. So y'all see that, right? All right. And so that's in the 1990s. All right. So let me go ahead and load this up to load these slides on the screen here. Let's do it this way, and hopefully you'll be able to see everything. All right. All right. So as you can see, again, this is the Great Depression era. FDR is the one that is going to try to create a new deal and revamp society in a sense, because we're in the Great Depression. And you see little kids out, why can't you give my dad a job? We're talking about the 1930s, ladies and gentlemen, where the man was the breadwinner. Okay. The man was the one that was going outside to work. All right. And so we got to keep everything in its proper context of timeline goes. All right. So let me just go ahead and blow this all the way up so you can see what's happening. There we go. All right. So the Social Security Act of 1935, this is the preamble. And it does say, hey, we want to help dependent and crippled children, maternal and child welfare. So maternal is the woman. Okay. Why? Because the men are already out here working. We're going to assume that men are going to work. This new culture that we have today, I'm a stay-home dad and the woman works type stuff, that wasn't in that time. Okay. All right. And so now when we read part 1 of the section, maternal and child health services, it talks about the promotion or the promoting the health of mothers and children, especially where in rural areas and in areas suffering from severe economic distress. The point of this slide is it wants to help people in rural areas. Black folks were not living in rural areas like that. Unless you want to say, hey, yeah, you were, because after the plantation days, slavery is over in 1935. At this time, you're out in the country. Okay, if that's what you want to say. You know what I'm saying? But we know who occupied rural America. Okay. And so rural, this is specifically for, or especially for rural America, but anyone that's suffering from economic distress. All right. Now, here goes some definitions. When using this title, the term dependent child means a child under the age of 16 who has been deprived of parental support, not deprived of maternal support, not deprived of father support, deprived of parental support or care by reason of death, continued absence from the home, or physical or mental incapacity of a parent, not mom, not dad, but a parent, and who is living with his father, mother, grandfather, grandmother, brother, sister, stepfather, stepmother, stepbrother, stepsister, uncle, or aunt in place of a residence maintained by one or such relatives as his or their own home. My point here is reading, well, what if the mom is missing? What if the kid is staying with the dad and mom is missing? Then you would be eligible, fathers. So this is not aimed specifically at women to get rid of fathers. In this part of the act, it is telling you that a kid could live with the father, and if it's a missing parent, there's a missing parent. But again, at that time, it's highly unlikely in a sense because the dads are out here working. Okay. So the states have the right to declare what will make you eligible for these benefits. This is a state rights thing. Okay. Now, you will see women who are protesting. Man in the house rule must go. This is what they said. Men in the house rule must go. Right? So if the man in the house rule must go, right? This is white women. You think they out there protesting for black women? Talking about that rule must go? You think it's for them? See, this is what I mean. Like, this affects white folks too. You understand what I'm saying? But we don't tell that side of the story. So anyway, let's look at a very popular case, because the man in the house rule was, if it's a man in the house, then hey, we can't rock with this. We can't support this if it's a man in the house. Makes sense. So there's a Supreme Court case in 1968, King versus Smith, that we need to really talk about, because this is where the Supreme Court struck down the man in the house rule. Okay. So we're going to look at we're going to look at the decision, the opinion that was written by Chief Justice Warren at the time. Okay. So let's blow that up. All right. So, man, hopefully you can see that. That's horrible because I really need my glasses to see that. All right. So maybe we can edit that and make that bigger. But let me give me a second, y'all. Give me a second because I really can't see that like that per se. And what I want to do is hold on. I'm actually pull it up in red, which y'all see. Okay. So in red, what is actually getting at is Alabama considers a man who qualifies as a substitute father under its regulations to be a non-absent parent within federal statute. The state therefore denies aid to an otherwise eligible needy child on the basis that his substitute parent is not absent from the home. Okay. And so what's happening here is Alabama is on record for saying, hey, we got the substitute father rule. Okay. And since I really can't see it that well, and we're going to have to edit this and whatnot, just bear with me. But Alabama has this rule that says, hey, when there's a father in play here and he's coming and he's having sex with the woman, then he's responsible for these children. This is what the case actually says, right? Blew my mind, right? In fact, I'm gonna read it verbatim, and hopefully you can see this. Hold on, give me a second, man. You got to swim. Hopefully you could that one. Let me blow that up there. There we go. That's pretty. That says two state interests are asserted in support of the allocation of the AFDC assistance achieved by the regulation. First, it discourages, this is Alabama responding. First, it discourages illicit sexual relationships and illegitimate births. Second, it puts families in which there is an informal marital relationship on par with those in which there is an ordinary marital relationship, because families of the latter sort are not eligible for AFDC assistance. So Alabama is saying, listen, court, when we do this substitute father rule, this stops illegitimate birth of children out of wedlock, and it promotes marriage. And if it promotes marriage and they're married, then guess what? There's no assistance that we have to take away from you, the taxpayer. The taxpayer can keep their money. And it gets deeper inside of this case, because they're saying, and I want y'all to look it up, do a little bit of due diligence. Look this stuff up, read it. Miss Smith had 4 children, 3 by the dad who's deceased, 1 by a guy who's no longer in the picture. They find out that she's sleeping with this dude, Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams is coming in on the weekend and he's smashing and grabbing. And so they like, listen, you got a dude that's coming over here. The court actually read that the dude was actually married. Those are not his kids. The dude's husband and wife's work, and they both work to support their household. That's what it says. You understand what I'm saying? And so Alabama didn't have it on their books that was a lawful law, that it was just the protocol to get the assistance, but it wasn't a law that says substitute daddies, you gonna pay. And since it wasn't on the books, they couldn't enforce that. It's the real story. Even though Alabama's argument is like, yo, we won't have this problem if we make them responsible, because these dudes is playing daddy. They getting the cookie, they getting everything from the woman, but they ain't gonna do no support. That, come on, man, that's messed up. And that's a good claim. But the point that I'm getting at here, the no man in the house rule, or the substitute father rule, was telling you as a man, step up and relieve this person from having to pay your debt. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not a devious plan to separate the black family. Okay. All right. So, all right, let me see here. Let's go here and see what we got next, because it's about to get good. All right. Ooh, it's about to get real good. Now, did you know that the black woman, because see, we got to find the problem in this. We heard that the black woman was the problem. You pick welfare over us. That's what we were told. Well, did you know that you were the most likely married person between the white woman, the black woman, black man, and white man? But here in this graph, this is just between the black woman and the white woman. Only 5% of the black woman, which means 95% was, 5% wasn't married, and 95% was. So from 1890, where I got the bar, to 1960, that is 70 years. 70 years, the black woman was married 95% of the time. Only 5% she wasn't. Listen, the 1930s is really the Great Depression. Stock market crash, what, October of 28, right? So like the 1930s is the Great Depression, hence the welfare, Social Security Administration thing came in 35, right? Like 1865 is the end of slavery. That's like 25 years later, 1890, we still got a 5% rate. Doing all this civil rights era right here, because after slavery is the civil rights era, right? You, as the black woman, 95% were married. The problem doesn't really kick in. You can say 1970 where it switched, but she's just slightly, the percentage is slightly up. To me, the real problem is 1990 in comparison to 80. And then from every decade from 90, the game is about to change drastically for the worse. So the black woman in the 2010 census means 75% is married to 25% who ain't. And I bet you it's way worse now because we in 2023, right? So anyway, something happened. Something happened in the 90s, the 80 to 90 era. Something drastically happened there. So remember, what did the lady say? Remember what she said? Hold on, I'll bring her
In the
back.
1990s, Black households saw a peak when it came to fatherless homes, as nearly 70% of Black families saw this as their reality.
Okay. So we see the stats. We'll come back. We'll come back to it. Now let's look at the black men. The black man from 1890 to 1980, which is what, 90 years? 90 years, we kind of held steady right at or below 10%, meaning 90% of black men were married. Okay? For 90 years, ladies and gentlemen, we fresh out of slavery, we in the civil rights era, through the dog attacks, the water hose attacks of the 60s. The 1940s is said to have been some of the most lynching decades on record, right? Like, we maintain pretty solid. That 1940 was a spike for the first time we ever went above 10% for the first time. But that next decade, we got our stuff right back together. In fact, in 1950, we hit a record low. If you look at the graph, right? So we recoup from that decade. And then we come right back 60, 70, 80 at the baseline where we've been in the beginning. Again, it's not until 80 to 90, there goes that problem again. So something happened in the 80s. Something happened in the 80s and the 90s. What was it? Well, you can say, hey, this was the crack era, right? I heard that. Reaganomics, the dope game. You're talking to a dope boy, right? Like, didn't nobody force us to do that. Didn't nobody force us to do that. All right. So I'm not buying that, right? What about the music? What about the culture? This is the late 80s, 88, 89, early 90s. We about to get into. Oh, remember when Common came out? And I mean, I need to do something on the other channel, Hip Hop Astrology TV on YouTube. Our other channel is Hip Hop Astrology TV. That's why I got all these, legends in their own right behind me. But remember when Common came out with the song "I Used to Love Her," and it was pretty much a long, beautiful metaphor. It wasn't a girl; the girl was hip hop. And Common pointed out, like, hey, when she went to the West and started talking about drinking 40s and hitting switches, she turned stupid. And that sparked the beef between Ice Cube and Common. But Common is telling you the truth about the art. And it's not that the truth of what my West Coast players, do. Like, no, that ain't the point. The point is there was a critical change in the game of consciousness. Not that it wasn't truth, it was just a change. So when you had NWA was getting busy on women and, bitches and hoes and whatnot, and, the famous, let me blow this one up here, because the Tupac on the East is Brenda Got a Baby. But the Tupac on the West is, rolling with, the Pyrus, right? So, that's, and he's a Gemini, which is two sides. He's a two-sided person. One side, he conscious, dear mama, Brenda's got a baby. The next side is money over bitches. And we in the late 80s, early 90s, we got Uncle Luke, Two Live Crew, Pop That Pussy. Right? So these are our expressions, right? Which I want to talk a little bit about, because I don't think we don't express our men don't express their sexual passions towards women in a constructive way when it comes to multiple women. It's I got the money, the bitches, the hoes, that's it, right? But it's no, I mean, some of you may not like it, but it's no Nick Cannon. They're saying, I'm gonna be responsible about this. I want kids, I want to be fruitful, I want to multiply, I'm gonna set you up, you good, you straight, we got that understanding. This is what it is, and this is what we doing. It's responsible, it's honest, it's clean, right? And so we haven't always been the best at our expression towards women, right? So the culture changes. It changes without a shadow of a doubt. You cannot lie. It changes at the arrival of drugs and music, without a shadow of a doubt, right? The East was known as lyrical wordplay, right? Your brand Nubians in them. What you got cats that was walking around. The East Coast was the African medallion zone in the knowledge, the home of the 5%ers, right? It was more of a cultural, knowledgeable vocabulary, playing with words type of sport. The West Coast took it more to the streets, the police, the hoes, the bitches, and you know what I'm saying? And it's still, again, it's the truth. But the point is the game changes. Okay. So let's look at this here. All right, because we don't talk about this either. 97% in 2000, 97% of Black women were married to Black men, compared to only 92%. So 8%, 2000, 8% of the Black men that were married were in another race, compared to only 3% of Black women. Okay. Now, both have declined over time, but in 2021, Black women are at 93%, still more than what brothers was at 21 years ago. That's amazing. So only 7% of them are dating or married outside of the race, whereas 15% of the Black man is married outside of the race. Don't tell me nothing about don't tell me nothing about the Black woman has traded. The Black woman ain't trading welfare, as we just saw. The timeline don't add up. During the timeline of the 30s, all the way, I mean, the whole timeline, her rate is low. It's not until the 80s and 90s that the game changes. Okay. And then even within the marriage, just going to the year 2000, up to where we at right now, right? She still is married to us more than we're married to them. Okay. So, and I'm not here to gaslight women. That ain't my thing. I just want to be honest about whatever the topic is so we can arrive at successful conclusions. Because if we run with a narrative that, the woman she left us and all this crap, then it's like, well, damn, Black woman, why you do that? That's messed up. You gonna trade us for some government assistance and stuff, and we're lying on them, and we don't even know we lying on them, and that'll make me upset, because now I'm upset at you, because I feel like, historically speaking, you the one that broke up the family because you wanted to get some of this welfare assistance. And again, it just don't make sense, because no man is gonna, like, that ain't even a subject. That ain't even a topic. That ain't even a question. Hey, babe, I think I'm gonna leave the house so you can get this welfare, okay? That ain't even manly. All right. That's not even manly, man, for real. All right. So let's talk about some discrimination and disparities for a quick second here. All right. Let me show you something. I'm gonna have to blow this one up. All right. So let me show you something real fast to prove this point. At the very, very top, it says white, non-Hispanic. So I'm pulling these stats from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. So this is white, non-Hispanic. In 1980, the percent of the poverty population for white folks was 48.8% in 1980. I'm going in 80 because I told you something changed in 80 into the 90s, right? So they have 48.8% of the poverty population. Now, let's go to 2021. At the top, it says white, non-Hispanic, right? They're now at 58.8 21 years later. Okay. So now let's go to, you see it say Black at the very top. The Blacks in 1980 were at 44.7, dealing with the percent of the poverty population, 44.7. And in 2021, we at 52.7. So let's bring it together here. The Blacks in 1980 was at 44.7. In 2021, we was at 52.7. So we saw a net increase of 8%, which is a yearly average of 0.38 of a percent, not even 1%, a 0.38% in a, what was that? Over that period of time, right? So that's smaller than or less than the whites in 1980. They was at 48%. We was at 44. In 2021, they was at 58. We was at 52. They net result was 10% exactly. And their yearly average is 0.47% of them are going into the poverty line. Yes, you with me? You with me? So this is like what, 41 years? So white folks are actually going, their poverty rate is increasing more than ours. I don't think we understand this. Why are we not having this conversation? I just showed you the stats from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. White people, population of poverty is increasing more than black people's. So now I have to ask the question, what kind of white supremacy is that? Why would you do that? But you know what they say? They start lying and making up stuff. They got to let some of them go to make it look like they care. That's what they'll tell you. It don't make sense. Why would let anyone go? We will always maintain superiority over you. We white people don't got to play no tricks with you because you ain't never did nothing to even fight to get out of slavery by yourself. To warrant them all of a sudden have to play these sophisticated mind games with you. I keep telling y'all, it was always two ideologies on this land, pro-slavery and anti-slavery. Those people are going to act like they're all one system, and it was never one system. That was the first system, and that system got overthrown. That's the part you're missing. Okay? Look at the results. It's right there. All right? So let's look at this. Because what's happening is what? On the white side, right? When we compare it in 1980, 4.1% more whites in poverty. But in 2021, it's 6.1% more in poverty. Interesting. Interesting. So again, within this time span, it increased and they're going in more than us. Okay? So that's great for white supremacy, I guess, right? So let's blow this up real fast. Again, black women were more likely to be married. What Jay-Z say? I got 99 problems, right? And I believe that's my last slide. I got 99 problems and the bitch ain't one. But yeah, he's married. Yeah, he's married. In fact, they're $1 billion couple, right? My point is, money over bitches became the new norm. Culturally speaking, men turned their backs on women. The black man turned his back on the black woman without a shadow of a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt. And I'm not letting you off the hook, ladies, because see, there's a problem here. Because if over 80% of divorces are filed by women, there's something going on here. Either we drastically don't understand each other, which we don't, and that's the whole debate in this manosphere shit now. We don't understand each other, right? We drastically don't understand each other. You got a serious problem, or we got a serious problem, or we all got a goddamn serious problem. And I'm going to go with the latter. We all got a serious problem because we don't even know the truth, man. We don't even know the basic historical facts of the matter. It's so much stress. It's so much misperceived information. We're believing lies. We're pointing the finger at one another. We don't understand that it's not one shoe fits all. You know what I'm saying? All sizes for us. You have to understand what your type is. You understand that? It's 4 different blood types just in the human being alone. That's not the type I was talking about, but it's 4 different blood types in the human being alone. I may not, you can't even give you blood. Right? Our bloods may not even mix. But then if I get you pregnant and the baby has incompatible blood to you, that can make you anemic. Nobody talks about that though. You understand what I'm saying? Love is a science, man. And to be into science, you got to be willing to learn and be knowledgeable. That's the problem. We're way too ignorant. Way too ignorant. Okay. And so there's a problem where the ignorance exists on both sides of the gender spectrum. Okay. All right, man. So I let you guys be the judge of that. You know what I'm saying? Did the black woman trade on us? I don't think so. I think the data shows that she did not trade on us. I think it's the other way around. We traded, but I think there's a great responsibility that needs to happen between both of the genders, without a shadow of a doubt. Okay, y'all with me? All right, man. So if you want to get with me, man, check out Cosmic Conversations and Spiritual Politics. All right, check it out on all of your streaming platforms. Okay, so we got two different podcasts. One is called Cosmic Conversations. The other one is called Spiritual Politics. Okay. Again, I'm Noble Wampu. I got a Patreon. You can come check me out. It's for the stargazers. It's for those who are um, curious enough, knowledgeable enough, and know the truth of the universal self, themselves in relation to the cosmos and whatnot, and who want to get on that journey and learn that. Okay. Because I'm going to tell you something. All these gentlemen behind me, all of them, and it's 10 of them. Okay. You can't see, let me see, you can't see Big. You may can't see, let me see, let me get out the way. They go Big. There go Big L. All right, you see Pac in the corner, Mac Dre from the Bay, and then King Von over there, Jam Master J, right? Dolph, Pop Smoke, Takeoff. You know what I'm saying? All of them have a particular pattern. Yeah, all of them died. And when they died, the planet Mars was in a certain pattern. And I'm going to show this because this thing is really real like that. What if all of them have the same cosmic pattern? How can you identify that pattern? How can you know when that pattern is coming up for you? I was talking to one of my homegirls today, man. So, what's up with you? She said, man, I don't know if you know I was in the shootout. What do you mean? Me and my daughter was in the car. A car pulled up behind me, and there was a car in front. They pulled off and then start shooting. And I didn't even realize I had some bullets in my car until the next day. I said, girl, where you got Mars at? And I said, because when was this? This was in March, man. Mars was in Gemini. And she went to go look and she said, oh my God, I got Mars in Gemini. And I just bust out laughing. She like, and she laughed too. She like, damn. I was like, see, do y'all understand what I just said? I said, a woman and her daughter was in a car in, and they live in Chicago. So car behind her, car in front, they start shooting at each other. Her car gets hit. I say, where was Mars at when you were born? Because I know in March, Mars was in Gemini. She go look, and she born in the 80s. She go look and say, oh shit, what a coincidence. Mars was in Gemini when I was born, which means when that planet that represents gunshots was back home, she had an experience to represent the energy of what that planet represents. It's real like that. Okay, seriously. It's very, very, very real like that. All right. So if you want to learn that, that's where you get with me on Patreon. All right. So, man, hope you enjoyed the show, man. Subscribe on all the platforms. Click the like button for me. It helps the algorithm. Even if you dislike it, click that. You know, it still helps and whatnot. And guess what? Hit that notification button. All right. Till the next time, y'all be good. Peace.